Hey friends, today I want to tell you some stories that connect in with the idea of people judging us. Yes, why do other people's opinions affect us so much? Why do we care what other people think of us? Now, the other day, my youngest daughter Gemma Rose and we were driving to town. And Gemma Rose was actually driving, I was the passenger. And all of a sudden, Gemma Rose applied the brakes really hard, and we came to a sudden stop. And I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she said, "Mom, a duck just stepped out onto the road." And I looked, and yes, there was this duck who was panicking. He'd made the wrong call, and all of a sudden he'd found himself in a dire situation. So this duck is flapping its wings and it's running as fast as it can, and it gets across the road. Now this isn't a strange occurrence. Oh, the ducks, they often walk into town from their lake. Yeah, they go for a stroll and they just head out onto the road. They have no road sense whatsoever. Or maybe they just trust us because nobody hits ducks. Trucks, cars, buses, vans, bikes, everything stops as soon as a duck sets out across the road. Now, the duck got safely to the other side of the road, and Gemma Rose sighed and said, "Wow, I'm so glad I'm not a duck murderer. What would everybody think of me if they heard that I'd murdered a duck?" Yeah, you can run a kangaroo over and a wombat, but not a duck. And this just led me to the thought, why do we care what other people think about us? Of course, Gemma Rose was joking. A duck murderer makes a good story. Yep, I don't think anyone would have blamed her if she had hit the duck. But there are so many other situations in life where we're always thinking, what do other people think about me? If I did this, what would other people think? I did that, what do other people think of me? And the reverse of that, obviously, is we judge other people. Sometimes people say, well, why do you worry what other people think of you? They're probably not thinking of you at all. And I wonder, is that really true? I think it's human nature to judge, isn't it? We're always looking at what other people are doing and making our own judgments about it. Maybe it makes us feel better about what we're doing. If those people over there are doing something wrong, maybe we're doing something right. Now I got another story about a time when I wondered what would happen if somebody knew what I had done. Would they judge me? And this story involves my son Thomas, who died when he was a day old. Yeah, you probably know the story of Thomas. He had a diaphragmatic hernia, which was diagnosed during the 18-week ultrasound, and the doctor said there wasn't much chance he would live after birth because he wouldn't have enough lung tissue for independent breathing. No, the lung cavity was occupied by his other organs. They all moved through the hole and filled up the space where his lungs should have been developing. Anyway, I won't go into all the details of his story. We had such hope. We had such hope despite the odds all during the pregnancy. And then when he was born, oh, it's like a roller coaster. One moment we were hopeful, the next moment we plummeted into a pit of despair. It all depended on what the doctor was saying, the doctor in the NICU. If he gave a good report, hopes soared. If then the next time he came around and he said, "Oh, things aren't looking good," yes, our hope got squashed. Well, anyway, After just over a day, Thomas died. And a friend arrived at the hospital to take all our children home. Luckily, fortunately, I think that's a better word, they were there and they met their brother before he died, and they were there when he died. We all took turns holding him. Me, my husband, my mother-in-law, and all the children. We all took a turn of holding Thomas as he died. And then afterwards, the friend took my children home to give Andy and I some time to ourselves to work through all the hospital things, fill in all the paperwork, all that type of thing. And eventually we ended up back in my room. I had a private hospital room. I didn't to start with. And then when things were looking bad, I was given my own room for privacy. It's funny how, the way people express compassion. That room meant so much, I guess, because I was able to be alone, cry my way through the whole day and a bit as we went up and down that roller coaster. But anyway, when we got back to my room, Andy said, "I'll make you a cup of tea." I mean, tea, it's the universal way of putting things right, isn't it? We can't do anything else. Make a cup of tea. So I just nodded, and Andy put the kettle on, made a cup of tea, and then he said, "I've got some chocolate for you." He said last night when I went home to see the kids, because he'd gone home to make sure that they were all okay, he said he'd picked up some groceries for the children and my mother-in-law, and he'd picked up a bar of chocolate for me. Again, I think he didn't know what to do. What can you do when your child is dying and your wife's heart and your own are breaking? And he just put a bar of chocolate into the shopping trolley. And I looked at the chocolate, and I didn't really want chocolate. And I looked at my husband, and I thought about how he'd thought about me when he was in the supermarket. And I said, yes, I'd like some chocolate. And Andy broke it up into pieces, sprinkled it on a plate and put it between us, and we had our tea. But the thought that I couldn't get out of my mind was, what if someone wanders by, looks through the glass panel on the door, or comes in? What if a nurse comes to check how I am? And we're sitting there drinking tea and eating chocolate, and our son only died a couple of hours ago. What would people think? Would they think, hey, they don't care about their son? Yeah, he died, now they're having tea and chocolate. It's no big deal. Would they think badly of us? Would they judge us? Yeah, it was a hard moment because tea and chocolate don't go together with a baby dying. But in a way they do, because that chocolate represented my husband's love and concern for me. And sometimes people, they look at things from the outside, don't they? And they see one picture. They don't understand what's going on properly. They don't understand all the different issues and what is happening deep down. And I'm saying other people, but we all do it, don't we? We just can't jump to conclusions. Before we know it, we've made a judgment. Why do we want other people to think well of us? Why don't we want them to jump to negative conclusions? I think it is because we have a longing to be liked, don't we? And to feel that we belong. We have friends, we have family, we have our own tribe. We have people around us who like us, who accept us. And sometimes we do strange things in order to be accepted. We might judge people, but we don't tell them. And we worry so much about what other people are thinking of us. We worry so much that we are prepared to do things that we don't really believe in, just so that other people think good thoughts about her. So they'll say, hey, Sue's a great person. She's a good parent. She cares. Yes, we would like to be her friend. Her kids are fantastic. Yep, they're allowed to play with our kids. And so many times over the years, because I've been a parent for forever, it feels, many, many, many years, but so many times over those years, I did things only because I cared about what other people thought about me. I guess it's a growing thing, isn't it? I think, well, I wish I could go back and to do it all again. But we learn from all the mistakes we make. And the thing I've learnt the most is we shouldn't care what other people think of us if we're doing what we believe is right. Of course, if we're doing something wrong, oh yes, other people's opinions might keep us on the straight and narrow. But we shouldn't worry about other people's opinions. What we should worry about is our kids. Do what is right for our kids. Yeah, and don't worry about other people. I've got other stories about, books and movies and all sorts of things that I banned my kids from reading and playing and using just because I wanted to be accepted. And I might tell another story or two about these issues another day. So, what am I going to challenge you to do today? Hey, how about listening to your kids and thinking about why you worry about what other people think of what you're doing, if maybe you're just unschooling. I mean, unschoolers have a bad reputation. In some people's eyes, unschoolers are irresponsible. So many negative things. I don't want to say them all because I don't believe they're true. And the people who are saying them just don't understand what unschooling is all about. And I think maybe that puts maybe the negative criticisms that we maybe receive from people around us, or certainly we might stumble across over the internet, they might put us off unschooling, fulfilling the needs of our children. Yeah, so maybe there's something to think about. Other people's opinions about you and your family holding you back. Because of course there's an antidote to all this. What we do is we find a tribe who really do believe in the same principles as us. So I'd like to invite you to go over to my blog, Stories of an Unschooling Family, and you might very well find your tribe if you need support and encouragement in our community. Stories of Unschooling Families. Well, that's all for today, friends. Thank you so much for watching and sending you my love. Speak to you again soon.